In this example, we're going to learn how to use sub-workflow processes, where you have a parent workflow that calls a child process, and then let the child process run, and then continues with the parent process. So let's go and build a child process first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new definition called child workflow. This child workflow, let's do a task step. Where I'm going to route this task to myself, and let's call this task, let's select my user, and let's call the task description as child process task approval, so that we can differentiate, we know which process it came from. That's all we need to configure at this point. Let's go ahead and save that, and we're going to save the definition. Now let's go ahead and design our parent workflow. We're going to go ahead and say create and call it parent workflow. Now we're going to, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag a sub workflow step. So if you just type in sub workflow, you will see that there's a step called starts a sub workflow from a step. Let's connect the two steps, and let's configure the step. The first thing we're going to ask is to configure the definition to use. So in this case, we want to use the child workflow. There are also a couple of other options where if you want to pass variables from parent to child, you can also pass variables back from the child back to the parent. Same thing with globals, you can pass globals from child to parent or parent to child. And there's also an important option here that says synchronize. In this case, we set to yes. What that means is the parent workflow is going to wait until the child finishes what it needs to do. So if you set this to no, then the parent will kick off the child and keep continuing processing, and the child will get executed at some point where it's not going to wait for the child to complete. So I'm just going to select medium priority for this child to run at, and let's go ahead and save this, and let's save the definition, and let's create an instance and execute it. At this point, a workflow instance is created. If we leave the workflow and go to workflow instances, you can see that there's a workflow called parent workflow instance. And if I render this, you can see that the parent workflow is waiting, it's sleeping, and it's waiting on this sub workflow step. You can actually click on this little icon that's on top of the step, and you can actually navigate to this particular step. And you can see that here's the child workflow. And the child workflow is waiting on this particular step. So let's go to my tasks and let's complete the task. So here's the task, child process task approval. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and complete this task. Once I complete the task, you will see that this will update automatically, and you can see the workflow has finished, and as soon as the child finished processing, the parent finished also.